So Matt, what's in Grandma's cookie jar today?
Yeah, let's see what wisdom Grandma has for us today. This is these are always so much fun.
Yes.
Grandma told us to live in faith and not fear. What does that ultimately mean? And maybe tying that into a little bit of the concept of limiting beliefs. You want to start us off? Where's your head take us on this one, Willie?
So when I think about that, think about times where opportunities come your way and challenges come your way. And the first thing is that, oh, I can't. And you come up with a whole list of reasons why you can't do something, compared to looking at it and saying, wait a minute, what makes me different than anyone else? And how come I just don't do what they do or what they did and end up with what they have, right? And I don't mean just material things. I mean just things, right? I mean just life challenges or life's opportunities. Someone comes along and, I'll tell you a story. I have a great niece, and I was trying to teach her how to swim. And I thought, well, she's with her cousin, my daughter, who's a great swimmer, and my daughter's younger than her, that maybe that'll coast her to see that you can actually swim. But her fear was so great that she couldn't even put her face in the water. And if you can't put your face in the water, then as swimmers, you will never, ever truly be able to learn to swim, right? Which limits all kinds of opportunities of the trips you go on, what you can do on those trips, and things like that. And that's just something simple as swimming. I'm afraid. And fear isn't rational.
Do you have, in that case, the fear was so great, was that sentence that stood out there, and how that limits us? And kind of think about that. Do you have any idea or kind of any thoughts wrapped around where did that fear, where's the fear come from? And why does it impact us? So we've all felt this. So none of us are unique in this world, but where does it come from?
That I don't know, right? I mean, I'm not really sure, right? Because it's not rational. Now, what's interesting is that people have conversations about faith being irrational, right? But we don't have a lot of conversations about how fear is irrational. And, say, well, I have phobias. So we gave it nice words like, I have a phobia of this, or I can't do that. But even it comes down to things like, oh, well, I'm going to rationalize my ability to not read away by saying, I just can't read, right? I'm just not a good reader, right? Really, it's fear. I'm just not good at math. Really, it's fear, right? All these things are things of fear. Now, faith may be irrational too. But however, if I just sit up and say, wait a minute, I believe that I could learn how to do this, and then I learn how to do it, there might be an irrational faith, but guess what? Now I know how to do something I didn't know how to do before, compared to not doing something or because you're afraid of learning how to do it or you're afraid to do it.
That's really interesting, I think, as I think back, so kind of reflect. A lot of these kind of images are packed somewhere. They're packed somewhere in our conscious or subconscious mind. And it's probably as we were little kids, and there were all of these things with the stop doing this. Ooh, the stove's hot. Don't touch the stove. Oh, stay away from the water, right? Bad things. You could drown. In the water. So kind of these things that could be, oh, there's going to be significant pain if I do this. And then that just kind of, it starts piling up. It starts just building up in there and going, we don't even know that it's building up. It's just kind of some of that programming. But then it's interesting how it expresses itself in that here's this moment of opportunity, and we put up the stop sign rather than the go sign. And to me, the fear is the stop sign. There's a million reasons why you shouldn't do this, and probably only a couple that you should. But but it's those folks, I think, that can learn how to break through that barrier, to work through that caution signal and go, you know what? On the other side of that intersection, I'm gonna hit the gas pedal here, which is interesting. So I love where you went to with faith, which is, we don't talk about faith nearly as much as we talk about fear. And that fear is so painful and it's so acute. And the faith is kind of bigger. It's oh, what does that feel like? What does faith feel like? And every once in a while, you run into one of those people, I think, that lives in faith, and they have somehow or another. There's something different about it. Can't put a finger on it, but it feels different. There's an energy that's different. There's a glow or a shine or right something about those people, and I wonder how they got there.
Wow. I tell you, I mean, that raises multiple points of level points, right? So you think about it. So you say, well, there is the faith that we talk about in the scriptures, right? And then there's the faith that just, I know that when I get in my car to go to work, that I'm going to arrive at work, right? When I go to cross the street, I'm going to cross the street. So how is that different than anything else? And why is it different than anything else, right? You just think about that, right? You say, well, I woke up this morning, decided, hey, I got to meet Matt. We're going to do this great thing.
Right.
Let me throw on the shirt, the clothes, make sure I get in my car in time. It's going to take me this long to get there. I have no idea where I'm going. Okay, great, I'm here. Boom. Now, at no point did I think of a car accident, right? That my car won't start, that I can't find my keys, I can't get the garage door open, all those fearful things, right? None of that came to mind, right? So that's one level. That's just every day I'm going to achieve what I set out to achieve. Then there's another level of it, from my perspective, that says, wait a minute. If I can walk when I couldn't when I was born, if I could drive, but I couldn't do that when I was born, then I can learn to play chess. Then I can learn a foreign language. Then I can take my family on a trip. Then I can create a business, right? Then I can help my neighbor. Then I can have enough wealth that I can share with others. Then I can, right? So we it should connect. I don't know why it doesn't connect, but it actually should connect.
So let's unpack that a little bit. To me, it almost sounds like, using your car example, we've been doing it so long that it's almost like we don't think about it. Yeah. So it almost goes into that autonomic thing. I'm just it didn't even process. My brain's not spending any time there. So it's so automatic that I have a confidence, and that confidence is almost 100%. That this is going to happen. And so I get to turn down the noise on fear. But in those things where I haven't developed that yet, I haven't developed that routine, I haven't developed that confidence, right? There's that fear, there's all these different things of that pain and how that's all going to manifest and what a big monster that is. And that monster is ultimately going to eat me. So I'm better off just staying on my couch and being all comfortable. So rather than taking that next step, which is, how do I stretch that rubber band a little bit? What you were just explaining, kind of that, hey, I start with this ability to walk, and that gives me the ability to kind of go, hey, I've got this thing for transportation. Maybe I'll try this tricycle thing. And then, hey, that went all right. So, all right, how about 2 wheels instead of 3? And it just kind of, that sequence of things. So as we think about, but often, unfortunately, opportunities don't present themselves that way, or we don't mentally frame things.
That's right.
That way, which is, hey, this looks a lot like that other thing that I was doing and shouldn't be that big of a deal. So we let the fear creep through. The fear, right, is there. It's always pounding for that little crack in our psyche and our confidence.
I agree. Correct, right? So the people who live in faith, they have figured out that in their minds that it's the same thing, right? It's the exact same thing. I didn't know how to walk when I was born, and now I could walk, and I run, and I ride a bike, and I drive a car, and I can cross the street, and I can spell my name. Now, if you really think back how hard it was to be able to write our names, right? Just think about that. Remember a little kid who, I can't write. Why do I have to write Matthew, Mom? What can I just say Matt with 1 T? I mean, right? Right? I was glad my name was Willie, but Underwood drove me nuts. It's like, why is my last name so difficult, right? And then now you're like, wait a minute, you publish papers, you've done this, you've done that. Yes. But if I didn't learn how to write my name and I didn't connect it to that, then I wouldn't be able to do anything else, right? So that's what people live in faith do. They say, oh, this is really no different. It was hard for me to walk. I remember how afraid I was when I sat behind the seat of the car for the first time. But I wanted to learn to drive so badly so I can go out on dates that the fear didn't matter.
Right.
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 How fearful was it to drive on the highway? Right. But in those things, we wanted it in our minds. All right. We put the fear aside. So what we're saying, I think, is this: put the fear aside on everything else and have the same faith you had. Right. And think about all the positive things on the other side of it. Right. The little kid who thinks in their mind as a baby, mommy and daddy, they can go in that room. I got to wait on them to pick me up to carry me to that room. I kind of want to go to that room without them having to carry me. So I want to learn to walk. Right. I kind of want this thing, whatever that is.
Right.
Joy and happiness in my life that I believe that if I can get past this, I can achieve it. So why don't I just do what I did as a child and learn to walk? Right. And yes, I'm going to fall. Right. And I'm going to cry.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to scrape my knees.
And that's right.
Yep. Yep. I might get a bump or two.
That's right.
Right. But that's the worst that happens.
That's the worst that happens.
So I think, so that's a huge lesson there. So kind of working through. So we all have fear. We all have to drive through that fear. There's no, right? There's no way to completely turn that fear thing off. So, but you know that it's coming, so you can kind of prepare for it to a certain extent. And in thinking about kind of that preparation for, right, how do I fight through that fear, that alignment with faith, I think I'd like to add one thing in there, which is in that alignment to faith, the closer that you can get to 100%, I believe, rather than, yeah, I kind of believe.
Correct.
Really, really helps through that. And then kind of a theory wrapped around community. We all, right, we talk about maybe a faith community, but that faith community and that strength and getting you closer to that 100% belief. And then I'll put a small plug in for EOS. So there was a book that came out last year called Shine. Our original founder, Gino Wickman, wrote this book. And his book, The Shine, said that all decisions are based out of love or fear. So he replaced faith with love. And I think where we're talking about maybe is a little bit, depending on how you're looking at it, you can kind of look at this either way. It can be love, it can be faith, but it's something bigger than you. And that's really kind of the way through this. So in wrapping this segment up, do you have any thinking about, hey, one takeaway, one thing that you could perhaps kind of implement today to kind of think about, hey, man, that thing, I did not make this decision with the biggest picture of me in mind, and I was held back in my fear. Here's one thing the next time that you start noticing that maybe you could try.
Yes. This is what I'm thinking, that you just basically go back to the basics. You go, hey, I can walk today, but I couldn't walk when I was born. If I didn't learn to walk, then I wouldn't be walking. This is no different. Yes, I'm going to fall. Yes, I may scrape my knee. Yes, it may hurt. But I enjoy being able to walk. And I'm going to enjoy being able to do this, whatever this is, that thing that you're afraid to do. And just keep using that to get through the process. What do you think? What do you got?
That's pretty genius. I think the only thing that I might bolt onto that is, first, there's a self-awareness piece. Yeah. I have to recognize that I was in this thing and my automatic default was to fear. And then I would do exactly what you were talking about. So I would try to, maybe at the end of the day, think about one thing where, man, that just didn't feel right. And write that thing down and maybe try to unpack that a little bit.
That's why was I afraid.
Correct.
Why am I afraid? Okay, I realize why I'm afraid, but I kind of want to walk, so I'm going to go walk. Right. I like that. Yeah.
All right. There it is.
There it is.
Wisdom from Grandma's cookie jar.
Grandma's cookie jar.
Until the next one.
Until the next one.